Hey YouTube, what's up? Dr. T here from St. Petersburg in Florida. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Take a look around, see what you see that you might like. Have a look at the playlists. And today, I'd like to continue with my China series and present a two-part look at the state of artificial intelligence in China.
Thank you, Daniela. This morning when I came to the conference, the Uber driver asked me what kind of event I was going to. And I said, AI in the future of work. So he said, so how long before these autonomous vehicles replace my job? And then I said, well, this is the US, so I thought maybe 15 to 20 years. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, well, I'll be retired by then. It was good that I wasn't asked that question in China, because I would probably be forced to say more like 10 years. So this talk will give you some reasons as to why I have such optimism about the future of AI in China, as well as some concerns. So I will try to cover technology, market, product, capital, and policy around AI. It's not a technology talk, but we always have to begin with technology, because many of you are probably thinking of all the Turing Award recipients in AI, of all the deep learning inventors, of all the triple AI fellows. Well, there aren't that many Chinese. It's a very clearly American, and some would say American and Canadian, led group of elite top super AI researchers, and we had the privilege of hearing from one of them this morning. But I want to tell you that while the very, very top certainly is still dominated by American researchers, when you start to look at China, the numbers are growing unbelievably fast. And I get a little bit of credit for that, for having started Microsoft Research Asia, which, was that for me? Thank you, Jennifer. You remember those days when we were at Microsoft. And there are now 5,000 people trained by that organization. And the core work that we did was AI. And you can see the 9 people listed are basically CTOs at Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, Toutiao, and Haier, Lenovo. Basically all the big names. Some are CTOs, some are heads of AI. Basically, the knowledge has spread to help the Chinese companies move into the age of AI. And there's a lot of new people in their 30s and 40s, and I show some of them here, who are quite well known. They're committee chairs on CVPR and conferences like that, and also the young people actually are jumping into AI at a speed that would be hard to believe. A short story about 10 years ago, the dean of Tsinghua School of Economics and Management told me, well, this year, the super top smart people, more of them picked business school than computer science. He said it quite proudly. And that was, I think, 2005. And I asked him what was the reason. And he said, well, Goldman Sachs started paying global salaries in China. So that single, small, insignificant, unimportant, basically irrelevant information was enough to move half of the Zhuangyuan. Those of you who are Chinese know this. The provincial #1 scorer at the national entrance exam went to the School of Economics and Business. And of course, they've all come back at now the age of AI. All the Zhuangyuan pretty much select computer science as their area. And I recently talked to a bunch of graduates, and I said, hey, why do you want to work on AI? And they said, well, it pays more. And I said, how much more does it pay? And they said, about 50%. So these guys know their numbers. And I'm not saying all Chinese students are economically motivated, but it is an important element. So if you take it as an example, there are many such examples. One of the companies I talked about, we proudly fund this morning, is called Face++. This year, actually 1 week ago, they were the 3-category winner of the Microsoft Cocoa and Places image competition, beating some of the top industrial teams in the world. Their chief scientist, Sun Jian, was one of the inventors of ResNet, which is one of the technologies used in AlphaGo Zero. And this company is valued well over $1 billion, and their recognizing 3 million faces at any given time, deployed everywhere, used commercially in security applications, as well as since iPhone X has come out with capability, a number of Chinese top phone manufacturers are rushing to match iPhone. I can't name who they are, but they're basically all of them. And most of them have chosen Face++ technology. They don't have the fancy 3D technology that iPhone has, but for ID, hey, you don't need it. So this is an example where face recognition is legitimately won by the Chinese companies. There are a few other companies who are really at the top. And they win because they focus on it, it's hard work. It's not necessarily, brilliant paper publishing, but it's really getting that paper to work pragmatically in real applications with huge amounts of data and laborious labeling that were initially manual and eventually automatic. So that kind of dedication is very like Chinese companies. And here is an example in face recognition. In my old field, speech recognition, Baidu and iFlyTek both claim to have nuanced Google level of capabilities for the respective languages. So the Chinese industrial companies in applications are really catching up in the technologies. But really, what about the papers? So if you were looking as like 10 or 12 years ago, there are a small number of Chinese authors. But now the citations are up to, sorry, it's misspelled. Citations are up to 53% of all papers published were ethnically Chinese authors, and 43% of the authors, way more than the Chinese percentage as a percentage of the world population. So the top ones are not yet Chinese, but the medium ones are quickly emerging. And this is selecting from the top publications, not any publication. So technology is definitely behind, but catching up, and huge numbers are jumping in. And what about the market? As we heard this morning, the size of the data set is incredibly important to the AI algorithms. AI algorithms, most of them are open source and well known. You do need a few smart people to tweak them, but to apply them, this network effect, virtuous cycle effect happens. By having, first, if you have more data, you have a product that's better trained with AI, which will get you more users, that will make you more money, and then you'll hire more scientists, buy more machines, and get yet more data. This cycle has been the success factor of Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. And in China, Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba, and many, many others. We had a saying in speech that Victor and Jim would remember well. There's no data like more data. I think this is attributed to Fred Jelinek. More data really makes things better. The graph on the left basically shows the content's not that important, but what it shows is when you increase the data, the horizontal axis, each of the algorithms dramatically improve in accuracy, whichever algorithm you pick, as long as they're reasonable choices. So believing that a super scientist can do magic on a particular given AI problem, that just isn't the case. A very good scientist with a ton of data will beat a super scientist with a small amount of data any day. So with that, how much data does China have? We all know China has the world, has the most users in mobile and internet. So you would probably think, oh, that's 3x, that's significant. That means China has an edge, because on mobile users, for the, Baidu will have more than Google queries, and Alibaba will have more than Amazon transactions by maybe a factor of 3 for US and China, just considering for now the respective countries, not worry about the global expansion and so on. You think the gap is a factor of 3? It is absolutely not a gap of 3. It is dramatically larger than that. Here I give you two examples. One is the Chinese phone mobile payment. The Chinese people use the phone to pay for the goods 50 times more often than Americans. That is bypassing when you whip out your phone rather than your credit card or cash to pay. That's phone payment, 50 times more. All of that is data that goes back to train AI models. Chinese food delivery, 10 times more than the US. I don't have time to go into the specifics as to why, but I'm just saying the proliferation of mobile as a point to life, online and offline, is happening much faster than in the US. If you actually go to China, spend a day with a Chinese person, you will be amazed at what people do. The Chinese people carry no cash. They just take a phone, and you pay all your utilities with your phone. You buy everything with your phone. You don't go to restaurants. You just order out. It gets delivered. You go off work, open your phone app, order food. By the time you're home, food is right there, hot off the electrical motorbike with free delivery. So these are examples where China is dramatically changing and leapfrogging the way that mobile is and should be used. And here is another example, shared bicycles. Most of what you read in the US about shared bicycles is simply wrong. Shared bicycle is a phenomenal product that is bringing value to the user, it's making the environment better, and it's going to have a business model that will make a lot of money. It does create a mess in the streets that needs to be fixed, but this graph shows you 5 of the apps and how long they took to get to 20 million orders per day. This is not daily active user. This is not a page view. This is dollars being spent. Imagine 20 million per day. How many US apps get that many orders? And how long does it take for a new app to get to that speed? Mobike, the shared bicycle company we invested in, took 10 months to go from nothing to 20 million orders, payments per day. So all of that is data. So when we talked about the 4 waves in the morning, this is the 3rd wave. You've got 22 million bicycles transmitting their GPS and other sensor information up to the server, creating 20 terabytes of data that can be mined for all kinds of things. DiDi also transmits 20 million it's like Uber rides per day. And DiDi has been recently connected to the traffic lights, and it's dramatically reducing the amount of time it takes to go from place A to B by synchronizing the traffic lights in accordance with how many people are going into which way. So all of these things will be data that will drive, make existing products, applications more efficient, and they will enable new applications we've never thought of. So a moment on mobile payment, just because this is so important, even though it's not directly on the AI topic. When your phone is able to make mobile payments, here are the things that happens. First, understand what a mobile payment is. First, it's not like a credit card. There's no 3% charge by the bank. It's basically frictionless, basically free. Secondly, it's peer-to-peer. Any of us can pay anyone else. You don't have to be a merchant or a customer. And thirdly, it's instantaneous. So there's no wait for the credit card verification approval. When this happens, this will make huge changes. It will make previously Chinese and China are a savings economy. It will become a spending economy because it's so easy to spend. Basically, just something you want to buy, you'll buy it. And also, it's so easy to take a loan. And that's why we're able to fund this company that does smart loans. They're doing 30 million loans per year. This is just one company, and there are 10 of them, right? 30 million loans because there are no credit cards. So China was behind because US had the world's best payment infrastructure called credit cards, but China being behind got a chance to leapfrog. And that's happened over the past just 2 or 3 years. Now,